All right, today we're going to open grade 2 monthly test. I'm going to go into my Navigator math grade 2 file, scroll down to September part 1. I'm going to go with the teacher version because that has the question on it. And this opens in ExamView. You want to tell us a little bit about ExamView?
Sure. ExamView is a program that is integrated with our MOBIs and our responders so that when a teacher launches this actual test from their computer, on the day of the test, the students use their responders to key in their answers, and we get instantaneous data and grading taken care of.
And we love not having to go home at night and grade tests.
It's the Navigator way.
It is. Immediate intervention. Okay. So, question number 1 for grade 2, September part 1. How can you change the order of the add-ins? Well, at Navigator schools, we don't expect the children to just select what answer they think is correct and move on to the next question. Our expectation is that they prove and disprove every answer A through D. In this particular situation, the strategy that we would have used to change the order of add-in would be the fact family.
Yep.
So my students should have written the entire fact family as their solve.
The solve is when they actually do the math work. So you can imagine them having this be an open-ended question, and in that open-ended question there are no A, B, C, or D. So the students are actually showing their mathematical reasoning in either visual form or equation form.
They also would have written down my keywords, and the keywords in this is how can you change the order of the add-in. Change the order is very important.
Add-ins is important.
As well as
Is of important?
add-ins. No.
No, not important.
That is unimportant. Our key numbers, as you can see, are 3, 7, and 10, and those numbers are all in our family. So as they go through and look at A, 7 plus 3 equals 10, what they're going to do over here and say, okay, 3 plus 7 equals 10. We already have that equation written down. The other equation, the correct equation that switches the order of the add-ins is 7 plus 3 equals 10. So they have proved that this one is correct because 7 is in the family, 3 is in the family, 10 is in the family, and they reversed the order of the add-ins.
Mm-hmm. Good. Can I disprove B and you write it?
Go ahead.
All right. I would say 3 plus 7 equals 10. They did not reverse the order. So under my disprove, I would say that's incorrect because did not change order.
And my kids use shorthand a lot of times. So they'll do things like this, did not, and draw a reverse arrow that shows that they did not switch those two numbers. C, it says 3 plus 4 equals 7. Well, right away there is a number in here that is not part of our family. So C is incorrect because 4 is not in the family, and they would have a 4 and that crossed out. Some of them will put not in the family and write it out, but most of them will just say 4 is not in the family, and that's their shorthand way of saying that. They would do the same thing on D as well. 4 is not part of our family.
Good. So that looks like a complete prove and disprove problem. And boy, it's like you did 8 math problems in that.
It
one
sure
math
is.
program.
And
Yes.
it usually takes about 5 minutes for them to complete a whole problem versus, the 30 seconds it may have taken them to try to go with their first feeling, which may not be the correct answer.
Yes, it's very important in these types of questions, Mrs. Parsons, to have good distractors. What are distractors?
Distractors, let me go back up to that first one because we have, of course, the trickster, or the main distractor here would have been this one, because as you can see, I'm going to highlight it, show you the highlighting tool. As you can see, all the numbers in this equation are the numbers in our family. So one student may look at this and say, okay, 3's in the family, 7's in the family, 10's in the family, boom! That's it.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't go back up here and reread their keywords, change the order of the add-ins. So that would be our trickster right there.
Mm-hmm.
Very good distractor to try to get the kids to select B without thinking.
Right.
C and D, the distracting part of this is that it does use
2 of the 3 numbers.
2 of the 3 in the family.
Good. Okay. So the key is on these is to make sure that the students have an opportunity to prove and disprove, which you, of course, have been practicing all month prior to giving this test. So this test has a total of how many questions?
I usually do 3 or 4 questions per standard.
Okay.
To show proficiency.
So I see this one in the bottom right corner. It says total questions on this test 9.
So without even looking at the bottom, which I can go all the way to the very last page that the kids don't get. I'm going to say there's 3 questions for every standard.
Okay.
And, oh, caught myself. We got 3 with AF 1.1 and 4. What is this little guy down here? Oh, there it is.
Mystery question.
Mystery.
Okay, so you had 3 NS 1.2s, 3 AF 1.2s, and 3 AF 1.1. So this essentially is the month where you're covering these standards in preparation for the CSTs, right? These are the 3 standards for the month of August, September.
Absolutely. Completely aligned with the end game.
All right. And then the questions, the question is at the end of each month, you've hit every single standard in 2nd grade by what point in the year in 2nd grade?
In 2nd grade, we have about 4 weeks before the CST to just do spiral.
So essentially you're done in the end of March?
Essentially, yeah.
Okay. And then each grade level varies a little bit, but...
Yeah, like 3rd grade has a few more standards than 2nd grade, so I would say give it another 2 weeks after that. So.
Okay. Well, I think I got the idea here.
All right, let's go to... Do we want to talk about proving and disproving in all fashions throughout this test, or is this just the...
Well, I think let's look at a different standard. How would you disprove?
Let's go through. Okay, those 3 were the same. Sarah used 8 blocks. Let's see how different this was. She used 3 more. Which number sentence? Okay, the keyword, the key number. So this is basically just doing keywords and key numbers.
Yep.
Let's get to... Okay. This one would be interesting to prove and disprove. So let's talk about this. What is another way to write 831? So keywords, 831, which when I say it verbally translates as a key number, 831, which they would then write down on their test. And then, of course, another way, and we're not talking word form here, obviously, because you look at your answer choices, and it's going to be expanded form.
Correct.
So let's quickly go through it. We have a 3 in the hundredths place. A is incorrect.
Now, would you use maybe a place? Would you use a place value chart?
I think that would be an incredible strategy. What we do is we do a place value chart and what we call making their beds, which we got from good old Victorville, who's been helping us so much over the years.
Now, one critical thing before we start disproving these is that we would, because we recognize that this is going to be an expanded form question, would you have the kids actually solve the expanded form problem before?
Absolutely, and that's what's called making the beds.
Good.
This is the Victorville concept, and they have 3 place values here in the place value chart, so they know automatically that they are going to make 3 beds.
Okay.
I found it doesn't really matter which way you go from the beds. Some kids automatically do it from the hundreds to the ones, some from the ones to the hundreds. I'm going to start in the hundreds here. How many hundreds do we have? Do we have 8? You know, you're going to be correcting this from the beginning of the lesson where kids have the tendency to do this, 8 plus 3 plus 1. But by the time they're on this end of the month test, they should be advanced and be able to say there are 8 hundreds in the hundreds place. There are 3 tens, which is the same as 30, and of course 1 1. So this would be considered their solve.
Good.
And this is always solved on their test, regardless of what they're doing over here, proving and disproving.
Got it.
So A is incorrect because there should be an 8 in the hundreds. This would be, some kids will do this. Some kids will actually give you the whole 300 plus 30 plus 1. I love this way of disproving, would be 332. My third graders have kind of evolved from crossing out the digit that's incorrect to actually adding each number and coming up with whether or not it matches the 831.
Excellent.
Okay.
So I think at this point, because we're probably close to our 15-minute time limit, you have an idea of the first test, why we came up with the questions we did. They're aligned to the standards. They have good distractors. The kids can prove and disprove. Go Navigators.
Go Navies.
Shift F10.